Today we're going to be working through kind of a continuation from yesterday. So yesterday it was all about kind of opening up and creating some space for our heart center. And today we're just going to do a little bit of movement, creating space for the shoulders, the chest, for in between the shoulder blades for that area that's quite hard to stretch and to kind of get into some um, um, self work. So that's kind of what our theme is today, and we'll see what happens from there. Before we get started, we're just going to warm up the hands. And today, what I'd like to do is we're going to warm up some of the hands. Well, we're going to warm up the hands. And then we're just going to kind of work into a little bit of free flow movement with the intention of tuning in, tapping into how the heart and the chest and the shoulders, even the neck and the upper middle spine are feeling this morning. So as you release, you can either choose to place some hands on the body. You can choose to create a little bit of movement here. Again, I encourage you to get kind of as creative and just free flow in your movement as feels comfortable for you. For some people, when they're tuning in and when they're just kind of allowing their body to and all of its sensations, all of its pieces to kind of come to the surface, so you can be aware of where your tight spots are, where you're feeling sensitive or sore, or where there's some flexibility and where there's some inflexibility. They prefer just to kind of stay still and doing very still movements, or even just laying still. Myself, in movement, any kind of creative movement really helps me to tune into how my body's feeling. It's almost like a certain type of language or communication. It's a conversation that's happening. So again, you know your body best. I don't think there's ever going to be, and I don't know. I don't not think, but I know that your body is your own. I'm a little tired this morning. So allow yourself to just kind of come into any movement and yeah, know your body. You're empowered in the sense of, okay, how am I feeling? How are things feeling? How am I doing this morning in general? Welcome. So as you're creatively moving here, and again, just going to give a little bit of input from my own body so you can kind of understand or get the feel of sort of what we're trying to achieve. I'm also feeling like just warming up those hands some more and creating a little bit of connection and intention-based touch into my middle back. For myself, my middle back seems to be where I've been doing quite a bit of work over the last week, maybe even 2 weeks. And so it's feeling much, much better. I can tell that there's definitely a lot more space there. However, there's also, it's like not tightness, it's more just every time I breathe, I can kind of feel it trying to stretch and trying to take that next step into openness. So again, not necessarily that I feel that there's pain or anything coming to the surface in that area. I have noticed it releasing over the last little while, but or however, that space is definitely like it's pulling into my rib cage, and it can I can feel that shoulder blade area kind of just stretching and kind of finding its max movement as it comes into my neck and into my kind of upper spine. So it's creating a little bit of pull down and into my arms. And again, that's just feedback that I'm giving so that you can kind of understand, okay, so this is one area. Now be curious of how that kind of starts to dive off into other directions and into other areas of your body. And don't forget to breathe. Excellent. Okay, so I'm feeling a little bit more in tune with where I'm hoping and my intention is within my own body on, wanting to really make connections with certain key elements of we are kind of working the whole chest, shoulder, upper body area. But it's really valuable, in my opinion. It's really valuable even when you're doing your stretching. Like, where are some areas that it would really, I know for my body's sake, feel really positive for it to get that extra bit of attention, or that even just that extra bit of curiosity. It doesn't have to be with the intention of like we must release it. your body will release when it's ready to release, and to trust that. I think that's a really important switch in our mindset around the body. Our body is not just some thing that we are connected to and that we are privileged enough to have. Our body truly is its own unique and growing and manifesting part, and it's a co-creator with us. It's allowing itself to take in our environment in a multitude of different ways than what our brain and even what our emotions take in. So anyway, just something to percolate with when you are doing any kind of physical movement, labor, or even just when you're sitting still, when you're being in stillness, whether that's watching a movie and kind of being in an awkward shape that your body's kind of saying and move, and sometimes we're tired or whatever the case may be, and we don't, or the list goes on and on. So really having some appreciation for this physical form, because it truly is just beautiful what it does. So as we come into that space, as we come into that little awareness piece, we're going to start off with just some really gentle stretches. The very first one that we're going to do is several different variations of the chest expander. So the chest expander is truly just a fantastic way of opening up the heart space. It also does almost like a self massage in between the shoulder blades, and depending on how and which variation you're feeling drawn to, it can work up and into the neck. It can work and release in through the front and upper part of the chest, or it can go further down into the back area into and wrapping around the ribs, and even going into the lower back, just depending on, again, where and how tight that spine is doing this morning. So we're just going to kind of hop right in. So join in whenever you're ready. Very first thing, so I'm sitting in a chair, and I'm sitting in a chair. I was kind of thinking about doing this on the floor, but I really wanted to make it accessible and allow the mind to understand. If you're in an office chair, or let's say you're also you work construction and you're in a vehicle all day, or you're driving all day, I'd love to be able to utilize some of these options with the mindset of like, oh, I could do that while I'm in the car, or I could do that while I'm in this particular space. Trying to make it really accessible. I'm going to be moving all over on my chair this morning just so that you can kind of see. And again, the shirt is a little loose, but just so you can kind of see how and where the physical body is needing to find its unique placement. Because again, remember that each of our bodies are made up and work and function uniquely how they need to, but also it's going to be different. How my shape is going to take is going to be different than how your shape is going to take. So really feel into your intuitive, feel into what feels good and what feels like a decent, like expansion or creating some space, but it's not ever going to be to the point where we're trying to find pain, or we're trying to go past where that I would call it a subtle stretch, but sometimes it's not so subtle. However, it's always within your body's like, oh, that's a lot, but it feels good. So again, kind of hopping again onto that or kind of sensation. It doesn't have to be a whole story. It's just a simple, true, genuine um, answer to when you get into somewhere. It's either or it's a ooh, and things tighten, and it's a and as soon as things tighten and you start to feel that kind of whatever the word, whatever story comes along with that, you know that you're going in beyond what the body is comfortable letting go of, or beyond what the body is comfortable leaning into, and now you're doing your physical body a disservice. So really try to wrap your head around, your body does not enjoy being pushed beyond where it's ready to go. It will actually release um, subconsciously. It will release when it's ready to release, if you just give it the opportune space and the environment to do so. If you push it, and if you allow your mind to kind of try to almost overpower it and create dominance over the physical body will feel like it's in needing to protect itself, and most likely, again, depending on the nervous system, most likely it'll just freeze. And as soon as your physical body freezes, if you've ever been in that state, it can bring up a lot. And when it goes into freeze mode, there's something that occurs within the muscle fibers, and for lack of a better way of describing it on the simplified version, it literally creates friction, and when it goes into freeze mode, your muscles tighten and you kind of disassociate. So we don't want to go there. We want to allow our emotional, we want to allow our mental to be a part of the process. However, right now, our physical is in the forefront. It is the one that has the control and the power to say uh-huh or uh-uh, and then we listen to it. So just, yeah, percolate with that for a little bit. Okay, so turning around so you can kind of see. The very first one that we're going to do is, if you are sitting in a chair, you're just simply going to grab hold of the hands behind you. And I'm actually going to come to the camera. So fingertips coming all the way together. Nice tight grip all the way to the webbing. And you want to get that tight grip all the way to the webbing, because the tighter the grip you have, the more the stretch begins to occur right from the get-go. So as soon as you interlace those fingertips, the stretch is beginning. And for some of you, this might be actually where you hold the stretches, with the elbows bent, hands are kind of in and around through the lower back or the tailbone. Again, just really depending on the shape that your body needs to take. Double check that you do still have your sit bones in contact with whatever area you're sitting on, and then really lengthen through the spine. A big thing that, or a piece that I have noticed in my students and even in my own body and my own habits, is when we come into chest expander, if our structure, our spine isn't in a nice solid and upright, meaning that our core muscles, our tummy and our back muscles are engaged, and we're really focusing on elongating the spine, then when we come into any type of chest expander and we begin to possibly extend through those arms, our body starts to take weird shapes that almost over accentuate the areas that are already tight, if that makes sense. So when we have that nice, neutral, strong, supportive spine, we interlace the fingertips behind the lower back or behind the back. And then we just take a few breaths here. Again, this could be the stretch for you. If you feel ready to go deeper, you take another deep breath in. And on the exhale, you're just simply extending through the arms. So as you extend through the arms, I want to show a few versions here. So again, this shoulder, ever so slightly forward, I'm really tight in this part of my body. So as I bring it back, I want to allow the shoulder blades to slowly, gently come towards the spine. So that opens up through those pectoral muscles, that allows the lymphatic drainage, which we have a fairly large one right here in our armpit area. It allows it to drain, and once that drains, it actually creates a ton of space. A lot of us hold quite a bit of simplified version, but quite a bit of just toxins that is collected throughout our life if we're dehydrated. This is an area that can have a lot of storage in it. So this stretch is really helping to extend and expand and even release that, whatever the case may be, that the toxin overload. So as you hold here, you actually want to really relax into this stretch. So again, if those hands are interlaced, and I'll just kind of show in the video where the hands are coming a little higher, notice your body. If you start to hunch or you start to lose that neutral strong spine, bring the hands back down. I'd rather see that and just really relaxing into this space than bringing the hands higher and then having your body start to do all sorts of strange shapes and movements. So just paying attention to that. And again, if you're noticing that your hands are slipping, you want to double check that your fingertips and the webbing in your hands is connected all the way. So as tight of a grip as you can. And then we breathe. Now we're not going to hold here for too much longer, because again, we're still just warming up the body. So as you inhale on your next breath, breathe into wherever that tension is. Hold that inhale. And then exhale, slowly release the arms down, bend the elbows, and it'll be important to give the hands, the arms, the shoulders a little shake. Okay, another fundamental piece of going into chest expander is a lot of the time, especially if you're tight up in and around through here, those arms that we start to kind of almost create a little bit of a positive block, but a block nonetheless, going and allowing the circulation to kind of build up a little bit. And then when you release it, that circulation, that blood flow is coming into the arms. And again, it's a positive because it's helping to flush. A lot of us have tension, tightness in the arms in one way or another. Most of us, it's in the forearms, the wrists, even the fingers, the amount of work that we do with our hands. So it's really important each and every time that you come out of this, you're just giving those arms a little bit of TLC. And as I do so, I kind of notice my body. I can adjust, getting a few adjustments in my neck. And even this one shoulder kind of clipped and kind of went back into where it's supposed to be. You know, like there's those little tiny self-adjustment pieces that are quite lovely, and they're all from a place of just allowing, not forcing your body into something, but allowing it to get there in its own accord. Okay, giving everything a little shake out. We're going to come back to that one several times in several different ways, but in between we're also going to be kind of working in different components or different stretches, I should say. So this next one that we're doing, again, we're nice and tall through the spine, and we're going to do a modified kind of cat to cow in a sitting position. So your hands are going to grab hold of your quads, the top part of your legs, possibly even grabbing onto the knees, just depending on how long your arms are, how long your legs are. Finding a grip somewhere that feels comfortable for you. Now, as you grip hold here, again, I'm starting with that strong spine, but the cat-cow definitely has a variation of really leaning into your particular limits in both directions of the spine. So not only are you opening and expanding through the chest, through the abdomen, and if it feels right for you, allowing the throat and that upper body to open, but then it's also going into the opposite, being mindful of your sit bones. Keep the sit bones where they are and really lean into, I'm going to pretend that there's a string right in the middle of my shoulder blades, and I'm going to allow that part to begin to arch first, and then I kind of allow almost simultaneously my lower lumbar, lower back, and my upper spine and shoulders and neck to kind of rotate at the same time. So it's a gentle movement here, and you can work with your exhale, which really helps almost create a little bit of a gentle internal massage as you come into this one. So it's an exhale to the nose or the mouth, tucking the chin in, round, round, round. Again, remember my hands are gripping and holding on tight. And I like to hold that and hold that exhale and create a little bit of a almost self-massage for those internal organs. And then as I inhale, I can come back to my center. I go through this one really, really slowly, using my breath as a little bit of a guide. Then as I exhale, I allow again the sternum, so the chest to lead, and I just something to be mindful of. You want your shoulder blades once again to kind of begin to draw themselves towards the spine. So there is a lot more happening here than just opening. It's actually creating a little bit of a self massage for that in between the shoulder blades, that area that doesn't get worked very often. And if it feels right for you, if you allow your eye gaze to look upwards, really make sure that your throat is open by relaxing the jaw and drawing that chin forward and then up. And you'll feel this stretch, and almost for some of us, if we really need it, if it's really tight in here, you can almost feel like a fluidity or like a draining occurring through that neck, and that's a really good sign. And then you can again inhale, coming back to center. Do this one more time to each shape or to each position. Exhale, exhale, allow the chin to tuck in, round through the spine. Hold that exhale and see what you can do. See what you can play with within that abdomen, within that tummy area. Inhale, Coming back to that neutral, strong spine. Again, going at your own pace. Our inhales and exhales are going to be very unique and different. When you're ready, exhale. And then inhale, coming back to center. Okay. Once again, so huge fan of making sure that you create a little bit of space for your body in between the stretches. For the next one, I'm going into cross-legged, but you can again sit however you feel comfortable. For the next one, we're going to be working, it's going to be working the arms, and we're going to do one arm at a time. Sometimes I've done this one, both arms. However, I think for today's purposes, we want to really be feeling an area of the body at one time. We're not trying to overstimulate the mind and the feels. So we're definitely going to go into just one arm at a time. So mirror image, but for me, this would be my right arm. And I'm going to bring that right arm out to the side, bending the elbow. Now notice the hand, back of the hand is going to come into the lower back. And you're going to place it there first, and then just kind of hold it there. So simple movements, sometimes I think it's more of our brain, although it can also be just a personality piece too, where you kind of want to get to the end so that you can get out of it and, and continue on. And I encourage you, that's a beautiful space and that's a beautiful personality to take in a lot of areas in our life. It gets us through things, and it really allows us to kind of be on a trajectory. When it comes to this type of movement, if you can, really dive deep into the exploratory state of, okay, simple movements have so much power and so much possibility of benefit. And I say that with those words with intention because the possibility is there. However, if our mind is constantly trying to, like, okay, what's the end root of this stretch? You're losing that possibility. So just simply placing that hand into the lower back and holding here, finding out where our root structure is. How does my core feel? How does my sit bones feel? How is the shoulder even feeling? Is it feeling extremely comfortable and like I don't feel much of a stretch? Be so curious, be excited, and be kind of, oh, okay, no, I'm already feeling a lot here. And it's, where is it going? Is it going down my arm? Is it going into my chest? Is it going up and into my neck? Okay. So from here, and I'm just going to switch positions so you can see what's happening here in the back. From here, my hand is in the back, palm of the hand is away, and I'm just going to, while keeping my spine straight, I'm just going to explore. I'm going to explore bringing that hand maybe over towards my ribs, dropping the elbow down, and maybe bringing the shoulder or the elbow up. So just dropping it down, bringing it up. Okay. Micro movements. My practice, my teachings, I have over, oh my goodness, I started doing and teaching yoga over 20 years ago, and within the last 15 years of teaching, I have intimately become aware of how important and how crucial micro movements are in the physical, and when it comes down to connecting to the spiritual as well, so connecting to my meditations and within the physical form, allowing the physical form to kind of take a back seat while you kind of work into more deeper levels of who you are. Those micro movements are magic. So when you come into this, you're being curious, you're lifting the shoulder up. Maybe you're bringing that hand a little bit higher and you're kind of tucking it in towards the spine or tucking it in towards the shoulder blade, either side of the shoulder blade. But when you go into those micro movements, every time you shift into a slightly different shape, then begin to make those little micro movements, whether through the head, through the body, through the spine. And as someone that has dove really, really deep into this, there is a lot to unpackage in those micro movements. And again, as you kind of come into this side, be mindful of what comes forward as you're holding this. If it's starting to feel too much, you always have the option of coming out of it, giving it a little shake, and then coming back into it again. We do try to hold this one because, again, like I said, sometimes we incorporate both hands at the same time. I just really would encourage everyone to really find how this side is feeling, because it's going to be so different than the other side. Wherever you are, a couple more breaths. Now, as you release sometimes out of these micro movements or out of these poses that you're going into it and you're exploring it one stage at a time, it'll be for some quite surprising that when you come out of it, woof, there is like you can feel a lot going on. So as you bring that hand down, you bring it down to the lower back first. You slowly bring it out and away, and it's important to go through each of these movements because you're still in the stretch right now. There's still things happening. Your physical form is readjusting to what the intention is that you were giving it at both the beginning of this session as well as in the moment. So if you're feeling something, you're bringing awareness to it, you're now giving it the permission, if it's ready to do so, to let go and change. Your physical body is changing from a moment to moment basis if it's given the opportunity to do so. So that kind of like openness, the mind giving it like, oh yeah, interesting. You come out of it and then you kind of move, you stretch it, you give it the time and space it needs to do any little minor adjustments in order to work for your highest good. Big piece here. Your physical body will always, and that even includes when you get sick, that includes when things really start to, I don't like falling apart is a piece that sometimes feel like that is happening. Your body is working towards its highest benefit, towards your highest benefit is always no break. It is always trying to heal to what you're to the pieces that you're giving it, the environment that you're giving it. So really understand and have some true self-love for the amount of constant creation that is occurring within this physical form. Okay, sorry. I love the bodies. Other hand, here we go. So again, same thing on the other side. So just so you know, right side. Now this is my left side. I'm bringing that hand. So back of the hand comes around and is placed on my lower back. So palm of the hand is away. As I begin to, again, create this exploratory piece, I might choose to bring that and keep that hand down low, but I might choose to kind of go way down or way over, or I might choose to allow that hand to go further up. Again, don't be scared or don't resist keeping it simple. As soon as you find anywhere, and again, I'm going to be mindful of my posture here, as soon as you're mindful of a piece or a place that's feeling tight or tender, so this is definitely my more flexible side, of space I'm not feeling as much, but that doesn't mean that there's not stuff there. So just be mindful of that. So for this one, I might get a little bit more exploratory and I might start to really bring those fingertips up towards my neck. And then I'm now noticing that if I was to draw that shoulder and that shoulder blade towards the spine, so draw that shoulder back and really push my sternum forward. Whew, that's a good spot for me. I can feel it all in through this part of my kind of like sternum into a little bit into my chest, but it's more working its way up into my neck. So I'm going to allow that sensation to guide me, and it's telling me to really allow the opening through the neck and through the throat. So I'm just going to explore what it would feel like in my form, in my physical form, if I was to just open to those areas that are feeling a little tight and tender. And as I allow that to happen, I breathe. I breathe and I allow. I give my body the space to do exactly what it knows how to do. I don't have to think about it. I don't have to force it to do anything. It's just going to do what it needs to do. And wherever you are on your exploratory journey, again, just paying attention to how that arm is feeling. If it needs to come out early, by all means, you can always come back into it. This is a piece that you and should be doing, you can be doing anytime throughout the day. As you bring that hand down the back, again, you never come from a place like this and then just try to unwind yourself like a Houdini piece. You always come out of the posture. Coming out of the posture, you get just as much stretch and readjustment, and probably even more than you do coming into it. So you want to come out slowly with awareness, and then stretching, working. So that one had a lot of work down my arm, which was interesting. I wasn't feeling that in the stretch, but now as I release it, there's like a lot of tingles going down into my elbow and into the back of my arm here. So just something, again, sharing, but interesting. And that is interesting for me. So as I come back, I readjust, move my body, move my physical form. Now I'd like to do one more before we get started, before we finish off today, and that would be going into another chest expander. So the second variation of a chest expander really allows gravity to help you to get into the posture itself. It's a piece that for some will feel really supportive, and again, depending on how that rotator cuff shoulder area is feeling for you, if this is a healthy, strong rotator cuff, this posture should feel quite gentle and easy to get into, because you can always feel like you can come out. If you have any injuries, or if there's some rotator cuff, or even shoulder blade, or even actually sometimes those, and myself included, I've broken my ribs from a surfing accident years ago. And so when I come into this one, I have to be very gentle how I come into it, because if I start to feel like it's almost opening too much, it puts pressure on my ribs, and some of my broken ribs start to get a little bit angry with me. So that's just a little bit of personal feedback, but also something that I want others to be mindful of. Our physical form has done a lot, and if your physical form has done a lot, and it's has some tender, tight spots and some areas of injury, we want to respect that. Okay. So I'm going to move the chair away. This is one that you would need a little bit more space for. However, I'm going to try to do it in a chair too, because I'm just actually more curious than anything else. So when you come into this one, it's exactly the same setup, and I'm just going to kind of move my chair around here. Same setup, interlace those fingers all the way to the webbing. Nice tight grip. Now the difference here is we're actually going to allow ourselves to go into a very gentle forward bend. So I'm going to try it first on the chair. We'll see how that goes. And then I'm going to go into just a split leg standing position as well. So sitting in the chair, my legs are, let's see, get down here. Legs are just a little bit wider so that my upper body is going to be able to go forward into the movement. Again, each and every one of us is going to be very different in how our shape goes into this posture. So try it out, play with it. If it's not working, then you always have that option of coming here and just working in this position. Also, another piece that for support, you can also get, let's say, the back of a chair, and you can actually, again, I encourage you to find something that's like a desk, or if you're using the back of a chair, I'm going to do it right now. You can use the chest expander and place it on the chair, and then you just bring your legs in the split leg, and you can allow that chair to support you. Okay, so that's just an option. But for right now, we're going to allow ourselves to go into a forward bend. So fingertips interlace, nice tight grip. Take a deep breath in. As you exhale, you draw the upper body forward. Chin is away from the chest, and then we go into that rounded cat. So just like we did earlier with the cat-cow, it's the same thing. Come forward, and then we tuck the chin in towards the chest. We round to the spine. Nice tight grip here, and allow the upper body to go forward as you allow gravity to bring the hands up and over. So again, this movement is really great for just allowing. You might notice that there's a little bit of a head rush here. If that's too much for you, you can always come out of it. But you allow those hands to come up and over, and that gravity will actually really enhance or just bring you deeper into the pose. Okay, it's not that one is any better than the other. I'm going to really reiterate that. It's just that it's slightly different. And for some of us that need that extra little bit of stretch and opening, having gravity encourage our bodies to go deeper, it can be really lovely. It can feel really lovely is the best way. If you're getting into that pose and it feels like a strain, you're not able to breathe and it's too much, then that's not the pose for you at this stage, okay? And the chair works really well for support as well. I am just going to come into a split leg, so moving the chair away. And when you come into this one, you allow yourself, again, tailbone to lift, fingertips are interlaced, and you allow the hands to come up and over, okay? Allowing the head to go nice and relaxed if that feels right for you. And then you just breathe, staying strong through the spine, strong through that core. And if you're in the split leg position, nice and strong through the legs. Sometimes when we go into split leg position, those inner thigh muscles really need to be activated so we're not collapsing into our ankles. So inner thigh muscles are activated, drawing that almost like you're trying to draw the feet back together, but you're not because you're in split leg. But it activates all those supporting muscles, which is really important. Okay, bring this up a little bit. Hello. That is all the stretching that we're going to be kind of doing for this space for this morning. Tomorrow I'm going to do another stretch and it's going to be kind of a continuation of this one and again kind of working within the theme of opening up through the heart and the chest and the upper body. And I think we need it. I don't think I know. There's so much that's going on in this upper part of our body. So when we're working through these stretches, a lot of the time what can happen is there can be things that come to the surface for you. So I encourage you to just allow. There's a lot of space for allowing, I think, in this present moment in all of our lives. So just allowing your body, allowing the sensations to come to the surface without having to analyze. So even if you come into an area and you're exploring some of these poses that we played with a little bit today, and something is really resisting, something's really not feeling okay, it's okay. It's something to look at. It's okay to come out of the posture, but don't put it on the shelf as something that is not good for your body. I'm going to say that in a slightly different way, so hopefully it lands. If something's not feeling right, it can be truly something that you're processing and going through within your environment, within your life. And it's okay to just say, okay, too much for today, but don't cancel it out. Any posture that is activating or is feeling really quite a lot, for lack of a better, all those technical terms, it's just a lot. You want to keep that close to you. You want to begin to very slowly chip away at the feels, at the reason why your physical body is feeling so intense or feeling so tight in that area. Sometimes you can actually get quite a bit of clarity the more you keep kind of looking at it and the more you kind of keep moving into a posture that feels a little bit, feels a lot. And that's all part of our unique journey and that empowerment, that personal empowerment to be able to understand that, okay, here's a posture, it's challenging for me, or maybe it's really easy for me. Either or can give you actually quite a bit of feedback. If something's super easy for you, I encourage you to really look into those micro movements. Those micro movements can make something that on the surface layer, oh yeah, this is easy, it doesn't, not too much for a stretch, great. Done this posture a million times, or maybe never done this posture ever in my life. Either way, it is a new and unique posture every single time you get into it. And I really want to reiterate that. Your physical form is changing, evolving, healing itself 24/7 from the second you were born until the millisecond that you pass from this plane. It is always trying to work for you, and just even take that in a little bit. So when we say, oh, I'm blah 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 blah, okay, like in this moment, that's fine, but you can't hold on to some of those concepts for a whole lifetime. Oh, I've always been tight in my shoulders. Okay, that can be true, However, there can be tightness and there can be openness in your tightness. That might sound a little confusing, but bear with me. If you're tight in a part of your body, and that's just how you've always been, that's very cool. That's awesome. However, I encourage you to begin to change the story a little bit. Okay, my shoulders are tight because I use them a lot. I that is a part of my body I've always used. I've always been very active. I love this part of my body. Wonder what it would be like. I'm curious if I was just to go in very gently and just begin to create some circular movements forward and backwards. How would that shoulder enjoy that movement? And look at it like that enjoyment of a posture or a part of your body, finding out a little micro movement that it really enjoys, it needs. That can change. It can change everything. So thank you. That's my little blurt for today, and I hope everybody has a wonderful rest of your day. Enjoy.